Poor Lenormand never gets anything.
Gets cards on his birthday.
He doesn't.
Valentine's Day. Got you a card, Lenormand.
Lenormand was a lady.
Oh. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a man, a geeky man giving Lenormand. Although that does ruin my next joke, because I was going to ask if he was French.
Yeah.
Lenormand.
She was.
She was. Should that be Lenormand? I don't know.
I don't know either.
The male and female and tenses were always my undoing when it came to French.
So La Norman.
Yeah.
Is that what you...
That was the joke I was making.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, I pissed on your joke.
Thanks for keeping up. La Normand. Because he's French. He's the Normand.
She.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Would it be Le Normand?
I don't know. You'd have to ask.
It doesn't work.
The French
Because
about that.
the cards are Le Normand.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work if she's a she. From a French language perspective.
So you're telling me from a French language perspective, Lenormand cards don't work because she was a she and she should have been La Normand.
I don't know.
You're not French.
Exactly. And that's why it's falling down. It was not a good joke in the first place. It doesn't work now because I'm so uncertain of my use of feminine and masculine in French language that let's just pretend that, oh, look, some magazines, they're not Lenormand cards either. A scarf, that's not a Lenormand card. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ridicule myself for your entertainment.
You do.
Let's go! Right, Lenormand cards.
Yeah.
They're not tarot cards.
They're not.
Therefore, there's no reference to them in pop culture whatsoever because pop culture focuses on tarot cards and misinterpreting and mistranslating and misrepresenting them to its own end. So Lenormand cards, this is all you. I'm going to watch.
Well, yeah, you don't get out of it though, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Because we're gonna do a reading in a bit. All about you. Don't make me look at these. Oh, the arms are folded.
I'm not here for introspection.
No, don't make me get out of my comfort zone.
All right. What are Lenormand cards? We have talked about them in the past, but
we have. So in season 1,
before I was even here.
I know, before you were born,
I was just a sparkle.
We did a season without you.
Oh, and the listeners pine for those days.
In season 1, we did the one about Lenormand and the other one about Lenormand.
Wow. You're really pushing back on the whole. It's not fair. There needs to be more Lenormand representation.
Yeah.
So you are single-handedly putting it out there.
I am.
With multiple podcasts.
I do. I feel there's a gap.
Let's go for it.
So the one about Lenormand in season 1, we talked about what it was. I think it was how you could do a very simplistic reading.
Yep.
And then the other one about Lenormand, we talked about our deck that we use, the Graphite Moon Lenormand. And we sort of ran through all 37 cards. We have 37 cards. So we ran through all 37 cards, their astrological associations, whether they're positive cards, negative cards, neutral cards, and their association with the I don't know what you call it, like a playing card deck.
Yep.
I was going to call it a normal deck, but what is normal? No one knows. There's no normal.
All right, so hang on. Are we suggesting that there might be a little bit of pre-listening? And because let's face it, it's possible, however unlikely, that some people may not have listened to season 1 yet. They may have just joined in.
Those people.
They may be new listeners.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Should we allow them some time to go and have a listen back to get some detail? Do they need to do that, or will we be explaining as we go?
No, we'll do a bit of both. So
Okay.
Yeah, so you can hit pause, go listen to them.
We'll wait.
We'll
if
just
you want
wait.
To listen.
Yeah. And we're back.
Hello.
But no, there's no pre-reading for this.
Okay.
No pre-listening,
cool.
rather.
Right.
So I've forgotten my thread. Yeah, so the other one about Lenormand was more about our 37 cards, what they mean, how the playing card associations match up and stuff like that. But for this episode, I set you a challenge of, are there any discussions? Where does Lenormand pop up in pop culture?
As far as I'm aware, it doesn't.
It doesn't. So
No.
You think you don't have to do as much in this one?
Yeah.
You'd be wrong. Sorry.
Oh.
We're going to do a reading for you.
Cool.
Live on this pre-recorded
Pre-recorded
podcast. Live on this pre-recorded podcast. We're going to do a reading. But I think before we get into that bit, just to kind of wind it back a bit, Lenormand, it used to be a game. It comes from a card game that people could play called the Game of Hope. So not the game of life, but it was a game of hope, which I think from my brief recollection is a bit like Snakes and Ladders and Monopoly.
I hope I'm going to win, but I didn't. What?
Yeah, I think, and you roll a dice and stuff, and you like move your counter along, and you land on a card, and depending on what that card does, you have to do something else.
So exactly like Monopoly, without buying property.
Yeah, you're not buying property or
possibly
anything.
without the family arguments and storming off.
Oh yeah, I can't guarantee that.
I'm not allowed to play board games.
You have a lifetime ban of board games.
I'm fine with board games. It's just when other people, not in this room, change the rules halfway through because they're not winning. That's the board game I have a problem with.
But it's fine. You're over it now, aren't
I'm
you?
totally over it.
Anyway, so board games that then move on into kind of evolve their use. That comes up surely in pop culture. Board games, card games that move on.
Jumanji.
Yeah.
It starts as a board game, becomes a real life adventure, then gets rebooted into a video game, becomes a real life adventure type thing.
I haven't seen the second.
Have you not seen the new?
I haven't seen the first one.
I don't even,
to be honest.
But I am aware of it. But because it was the one with Robin Williams. It was a board game, and it came to life. I don't know if they did a sequel. I kind of think they did, but then they have rebooted it since with The Rock and Jack Black and Karen Gillan and Kevin Hart, and it was a video game. So they played the video game, these kids, and they became the characters. So The Rock and Karen Gillan and everyone, they are avatars within the video game, basically.
Right.
So that's why. And then they've made a sequel to that one as well, which I think has got like Danny DeVito and someone else in it, but I haven't seen that one.
So the reason why we are gabbing on about games that are more than is because Lenormand is different to tarot in that it is so prescriptive with how the advice that comes back from Lenormand. It's almost like the real. If you imagine divination cards, tarot is like this ethereal goddess that comes down and is all, trying to be mystical and uses a lot of...
Speaking in riddles.
Yeah, speaking in riddles and that. Whereas the Lenormand cards are...
Someone from Yorkshire.
Very much...
Plain spoken.
Plain spoken.
Tells it like it is.
Tells it like it is. So the Lenormand is very plain spoken, tells it like it is, sucks you in, hits you with that smack on the arse of reality. Basically, that's what Lenormand cards do. So where we're talking about being sucked into games, it's kind of like that, making a game real.
Well, Ouija was a game, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ouija, definitely. It was created by a huge company, I think Waddington's or somebody.
Or an equivalent. Yeah.
So someone who makes board games. But Ouija was created for spiritual use. There was no rolling of dice and pass go and get money and shoot down the ladder and all the rest of it. There's not so much that. Not like with Lenormand, where it was only created to be a game, and then some fella decided, I know, I'm going to make this into a divination system, and I'm going to call it Lenormand because there's this really famous lady over here. She's dead now, but I'm going to nick her name and give it some kudos.
She may or may not have been French.
She was French. She was definitely French. And she was definitely like the goat, the card reader, spiritual medium of the day. Cool. Only after she died, her name got attributed to a divination system. And she made no money from it because she was dead.
Wasn't related to what she did anyway.
No.
Nice.
So she didn't write the cards.
No. Someone else did.
And they just repurposed.
Used her branding to give it credibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the grimoires. Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. This is
angel
all to do with Enoch. Cool. All right.
Okay, so we're going to do a reading for you. And because we're doing this on YouTube as well, so it's a video, we're going to kind of sort of fudge it a bit, jiggle around with cameras. So try and film cards.
All right.
So that
which you are now shuffling for people who are not watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm going to shuffle them. Then you're going to shuffle them. You're going to think of a question.
That's hard.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't have to be what is the meaning of life or what.
Good.
Like, tell me about my problems, or it doesn't have to be about that. It can be something quite mundane. So don't worry about trying to make it super spiritual. There you go.
All right, so I'm going to shuffle them.
You're going to shuffle them.
Do that by the microphone. I'm not very good at shuffling. There we go.
That must have been well annoying for the podcast.
It could possibly have been quite annoying, but it was to give, authenticity.
To show that you've done it.
Exactly. All right, so then what do I do? Put them on?
Well, let's just start small. Let's start small. We'll do 3 cards, but I need you to think of a question.
All right. How specific does the question need to be?
Super
specific. It needs to be super specific, or it can be.
It can be super specific.
Oh, okay.
And I'll need to write it down because I'll forget.
So something like, how's my week going to be?
How. It can be more specific than that.
Yeah, I might not want it to be. That's why.
So how will, rather than is.
Yeah, how will my week be?
Next week?
Yeah, how will next week go? Oh, yeah, see, that can be quite specific.
Yeah. How will next week go?
So is this like your genie wishes? Careful how you phrase your wish because you might get burnt, sort of thing. You have to ask the question the right way. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
So how will next week go?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
3.
Choose 3 cards.
Any 3, not just 3 from the top.
Yeah, any 3 from anywhere. Where do you want to pick them from?
Okay. So pick a card.
Like a magic trick.
Like a magic seal. That one. That one.
Okay.
And I'm going to come back up near the top. Or that one.
All right. So we're going to turn these over.
Going to just put it to one side?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got fish, letter.
Yeah.
And the last one. Come on, arms. Is heart.
Okay.
So if we're going to read these. All right. So if we're going to read these from left to right, it goes fish, letter, heart.
Yep.
And letter is in the middle.
Yep.
All right. So how will next week go? Now, if we read it left to right, they call this comic book style.
Okay.
So this is reading it left to right.
Yep.
Fish is all about finances and opportunity, like not luck, but it's almost like a financial opportunity.
Right.
So finances. Letter is about written communication.
Okay.
So that could be you get a letter about some finances. Heart is almost about romance and love and relationships, but with the finances and the communication about finances, I think there might be a charity type aspect to this.
Right.
So you could receive a letter from a charity asking you for money next week.
Okay. Okay.
So how will next week go? You're going to get written to about money, and it might be some sort of charity aspect. So somebody might be giving you money through a letter,
right?
Or they might be asking you for money about a letter.
Okay.
So that's a very basic way of looking at it.
All right.
So that's reading it from left to right, where the focus is the money, because we dealt the fish one first.
Yeah.
So that's the theme.
Mm-hmm.
The theme of next week will be about the fish. Anyone could read it with the middle card being the theme.
Right.
In which case, the theme becomes about this written communication.
Some kind of correspondence.
Correspondence, written communication. The fish is still obviously about finances, business opportunity, that sort of thing. And the heart is still about charitable love. So there might be something here about charitable finance being written about to you next week. So
isn't that just the same thing?
It is. The essence is the same, depending on, but the focus is the letter
rather than the focus being the finance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and that's another way of reading it. Third way is to mirror the fish and the heart. So it's about charitable finances being the subject of written communication.
Okay.
So it can change slightly,
but
depending on where your focus is. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a very simple 3-card reading, but we can build on that. If you wanted to, you could deal 2 more cards, and we could make a 5-card
for the
reading.
Same question.
For the same question.
So if I add 2 cards rather than do the whole thing again.
Yes, add 2 cards to this.
Okay. That one and the top one. Okay. I have to move these about, create some space.
All right, so you've put them all in a line, which is fine. That's still comic book style.
Mm-hmm.
So the 4th card along in this line of 3 next to the heart is woman. And the 5th card is scythe. So, comic book style, what we're doing here is...
Can I guess?
You can, go on, guess.
All right. I'm going to get a letter about some money, correspondence, love, heart, whatever, woman, is that, I presume that's literal.
It could be literal. Could
and
be a
then
literal
scythe,
woman.
which is sort of like a death-like thing. So could it be, I'm going to get a letter about some inheritance because someone I love is going to die? That's fucking terrible, isn't it?
So that's just breathe. How will next week go?
Terribly.
So the card about woman could be a female person.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely it could be. Or it could be, so we've talked before about heart, might be about a charitable commercial opportunity, commercial finances to do with a charity.
Right.
The fact that it's a woman card, that could be pulling in on female characteristics like empathy.
Right.
So it could be a literal woman, absolutely. It could be a woman who is writing to you, or it's a charity for women.
Or if it's about empathy, could it also mean the letter it's appealing to a subject I empathise with, or it's close to my heart, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it could absolutely be that.
Right.
The scythe, that is about a quick end and a quick cutting off. So it could be that the letter or the written correspondence about financial, commercial opportunity that either is about love or that you love or is charitable, that's something dear to your heart, it's ending. So that might be the communication ends. You never get any more letters from these people, or the charity that you're involved with, that relationship side of it is done. That's what they're writing to you about.
Okay.
It's ended.
Right. Okay. That's slightly less terrifying.
Yeah.
Slightly. All right. Cool. Okay. But there are other ways to read a 5 card as well.
There are. So you dealt woman first. I'm going to place woman.
Of the new ones, yeah.
Of the new ones, right. I'm going to make a cross shape.
Okay.
Out of these cards. So you dealt woman first. So I'm going to move woman from position 4 to the top. So woman is now positioned above letter, which was card 2 in our 3 card reading. So woman is above letter and scythe is underneath letter. So it makes a cross shape with these 5 cards. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So woman is up here on the top. This is a card potentially indicating a situation that is weighing down on this communication. Almost like a burden. It's oppressing this situation about this communication. Whereas the scythe being underneath it, that is actually in a supporting role. So this written communication about finances or the commercial opportunity that's maybe connected to a charitable situation or something that you love. The fact that the scythe is underneath and the scythe is about cutting off, that's supporting, so it's almost like a good thing.
Okay.
So it might be a good outcome when you get this written communication about this money situation. The fact that they might be writing to you to end that, it's in support. You're actually relieved because the scythe being underneath is that's the outcome you'd be looking for.
Okay.
The woman on the top weighing down, that is possibly something to do with the empathy, that it might be a situation that you're involved with that you feel has to continue, and it's your empathy to that charity or that relationship, that loving situation to do with the money that you have maybe felt you need to continue to support, and it's actually pressing down on you. So the fact that next week, how will next week go? Well, something is going to be cut off. It's good. It seems to be in the good place. It's in a good position. The fact that you've been empathizing with this pull on your finances, and they write to you and say, "Oh, we're not doing this anymore." That's going to be a relief to you.
Okay. So why would you set these out in different ways? Why would you read them in different ways?
Right. Because with Lenormand, the structure behind it is that you're trying to make little sentences using nouns, adjectives, and verbs. And depending on which way round you put them, there might be a slight nuance to the way the sentence is structured. So, for example, if we take heart and fish, if heart goes before fish, that's like, this is the noun, the heart card is the noun, and the fish card becomes the adjective or the verb. So it's like a financial charity. If we take heart to mean charity rather than love, or it could be financially romantic, but if you were to switch it and fish goes first, it's loving finances.
Right. Okay.
So it's slightly different because of how nouns and adjectives and words, like the cat sat on the mat.
Yeah, I get that. It was more about, I suppose, why you're going from a left to right, even with just a three. So you've got left to right, then you start with the middle, or you start at the right to go right to left. But then with the 5, you go left to right, or you have them in the cross and stuff. And it's just because we said at the start that Lenormand is very specific, but then we're introducing variants by the different ways in which you can read them. So it's almost like you read it this way, don't like the answer.
Or just change forever.
Change the order you put them in, and then read it a different way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely.
well, yeah, that's fine. Ordinarily, you would commit up front to...
I'm going to read them this way.
The shape that you want to put them in, but also the number of cards that you use.
Okay, so this is just you're demonstrating the different ways to do it. It's not specifically.
This is how
once you've done this, you can change to this.
All
right. Okay. Right.
So we committed to doing a 3-card reading, but then we added 2 more cards to provide context to how will next week go, which was your question, because it was, well, what about this communication, charitable finances, or this commercial. So this commercial situation about a charity that is going to be written to you about. What about, so what? Well, the so what comes from the scythe card, which is the cutting off. So it provides more of an answer as you deal more cards. Okay. It doesn't necessarily change the reading for you.
No. But you said you would commit to the number of cards beforehand.
Yeah, you would.
So if I'd said, I'm doing a 3-card read, and I got that, and I was like, oh, I need more context.
Yeah.
I couldn't then add 2 to it.
You can. You can add more to it. But
you can't change the order of the way in which you read them.
No, you wouldn't. I mean, I know I cheekily moved from your comic book style, how you'd laid them out, the 5 cards out originally, I cheekily put them. Ordinarily, you would commit up front, well, I want to understand, I'm going to use a 5-card reading, but I know I'm going to make it into a cross shape.
Right.
Because I want to know what the issues are that are pressing down on me versus what support will I get.
Yeah.
And I would like to know that as part of the holistic 5-card reading.
Okay.
But you could just have it in a straight line of, well, I just want to know how will my week go, and I don't really care about the support or the issues.
So when you're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and you've committed to the number of cards, you've committed to the way in which you're going to read them before you've done it, is there an order, is there a set order in which you lay them out, or would you position them as you, like, intuitively? So, for example, I could, if I'm doing them in a cross, 5 card spread, in a cross, and then I put the fish down first, and then I choose to put the woman card. I'm not choosing the woman card per se, but the card that is here in this one, that is the woman at the top. Could I go left of the cross, to the top of the cross, to the middle of the cross, to the bottom of the cross, to the right of the cross?
And combine them all in that way?
No, so we'll start again.
Do you want me to move these cards?
Well, it's more for explanatory purposes.
All right.
So I've got 5 cards. I've chosen 5 cards,
yes,
right, to answer my question, and I've committed to doing them in a cross.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a particular order I must lay them out in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or can I just put them anywhere with the 5 positions in any order? So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. So you can basically, as long as they end up in the 5 positions.
Yeah.
You can take card number 1 and put it in the middle if you want to.
If you want
you could put it at the bottom if you want to, top if you want to,
etc.,
etc. All right, cool. But you can't
just
move it.
Move them around. Yeah,
no.
Take the size, and I'm going to put that.
But when you're laying them
down here,
when you're laying them before you turn them over, you can literally put them anywhere. And does that work if you've committed to doing it comic book style as well, left to right? I could start with the right hand card, then do the card in the middle, then do the card at the start, and then put the other 2 cards either side to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, you could do that.
You can literally put them down anywhere you want to.
You would. And then how you would combine them, you could start from the left, reading them all in a long line to the end, or you could use the middle of your 5-card comic book. Yeah. That's the theme.
But you can't change your mind once you've started.
It's best not to, because you
confuse
it can be confusing enough.
All right.
To understand how the combinations work together.
And as well as the 2 episodes in season 1, there's a lot of stuff on the website about all of this as well, isn't there? Explaining what the different combinations mean, what the cards mean, and how you can do it.
Yeah. So
I'm just conscious that I'm putting things down which works visually. And not everyone's going to be viewing as opposed to listening.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, we do. We have all of our Lenormand card meanings on the website. And as well as the Lenormand card meanings, we kind of start people off very gently with 2 card combinations. So, for example, we've got on the website like a front page, like a cheat sheet aspect, listing all 37 of our Lenormand cards, because we have 37 in ours. That's on one page, and then you can click through to get more detail about each of the 37 cards and how those cards pair up with all the rest of them.
Okay. So you keep saying we have 37.
Yeah.
So are there set numbers that you can have, like you have 11, 23, 37, 54? Or is it just whatever works for you?
Well, the original Game of Hope had 36 cards.
Right. Okay.
And a lot of the older decks only have 36 cards.
Why do you have 37?
So, more modern decks include cards for people that don't identify with the gender of man or the gender of woman.
So was it 36 because there was only a man in there?
No, there was a man and a woman.
But nothing else.
Okay,
so there's a third. Oh, okay.
So lots of modern decks do this. So we have like a third card that can be used as a significator.
Okay.
So we can talk a little bit about significators. So our our third significator card is called the soul card. But we do have spares of the others. So I talk about 37. Actually, we've got in our deck 2 woman cards, 2 man cards, 2 soul cards, so that any combination of people and the relationships that you have with people can match up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can. So if you're a man, but you are in a relationship, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but you're in a friendship, you're in a business relationship, you're in a romantic relationship with someone who does not identify as a man or a woman, you could use the soul card.
Gotcha.
And so on and so on. So that our list of 2 card combinations also have man plus man and woman plus woman, about how if you were to deal those 2 cards from our deck, what would the combination be like that? And there'll be other resources across the internet where the deck creator has more combinations for different people who identify it in different ways that also have that. But the core Lenormand only came with 36, so it would never have had a spare man card.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the deck, on the cards, is there some of the cards the descriptor is in black, and in some of the cards the descriptor is in white? Is it just aesthetic, or is there a significance behind that?
No, those are just aesthetic. And the cards that we're looking at today, they're actually the beta cards. They're not the ones that we sell. The ones that we sell, the wording is all the same.
Okay.
All the same.
All right. Okay. So this was just testing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay. So I've got a prototype.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you were playing with the prototype today.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Because these are bespoke cards. These are cards that you've made for your own use.
Yeah.
But you sell them because the Lenormand cards aren't as available. And if it's something that people want to get interested in, then here are some to go with the results.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people can buy our cards. Just write to us. Let us know. We'll
sort it out.
Sort it all out. But just on significators. So let's just use woman because you've already dealt that. And I can't be bothered to look through and find the man card. So today,
he's near the bottom.
For this podcast, you identify as female.
Okay.
So the woman card, you identify as female. So you've pulled that out in advance of all of these other ones, because this question that you asked, how will next week go, is your week. So it's about you.
It's about me. And so that would be the first one I would pull out.
That would be the first one you pull out, and you could. So we've got our reading in a cross shape here, so you would put that in the middle, because that's the theme. You are the theme.
Okay.
It's your week. You are the theme.
But I wouldn't know when I pulled the card out that I pulled out a woman or a man card.
Yeah, you choose it on purpose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're allowed to choose that on
You're
purpose.
allowed to choose it on purpose to make everything else about you. So you're the woman, so it's so looking at the cross now, we've got woman in the centre because it's the significator. It's about you.
Right.
You're the woman.
Okay.
And so the fish on the left and the heart on the right, those are things that are about you. So it's charitable finance about you. Or does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
And so the other cards, they play into it. The letter, let's imagine we dealt letter and we place that at the top. The week now is less about a piece of written communication.
It's about me.
So the written communication is something that is weighing on your mind, if we look at it like this, because you're the significator and you just happen to have dealt this letter. has gone above you,
Mm-hmm.
you're worrying about some communication about charitable finance or commercial, something commercial that you love,
Okay.
and it's weighing down.
But and then the scythe, does that suggest that worry is going to end?
Yeah, because the worry will cut off because that's on the bottom and it's in support. It's still in the bottom.
Okay.
Underneath the cross, in support of you.
Mm-hmm.
So, if
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Siri doesn't understand Lenormand. She needs to listen to season 1.
Yes, bad Siri.
So, and that's how, if you were to read it comic book style, you could go in the middle of a 5-card reading. You would just go along the line, combining the cards. You would jump over you,
right?
Because you're the significator.
Okay.
So you don't need to read about you, but it's about
But it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? Because it's still about money to do possibly with charity, and then it's still like a letter.
The communication is cut off.
Something I'm not. This thing is stopping, or the correspondence about it is being ceased, and that blah blah blah.
Mm.
Yeah, there's something coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
makes sense.
So, and that's it really. And the more cards you add, the more
so you can do more than 5.
You can do all 37. There's no room to do that here today. But this is just to give you a flavour. But you would decide in advance how much detail you want.
Yeah, you can't keep going until you get something you like or understand. You've got to say in advance, I'm going to do all 37, or I'm going to do 13, or I'm going to do 5.
It's probably more helpful for you to decide as much of it as you can up front. So you work out in advance, do I want to use a significator? Now, we've pulled out the gender card, but the significator, let's imagine some correspondence is coming. You make that the theme.
Okay.
And then the other cards give meaning to the correspondence that is coming next week.
Okay.
So that's how you could do it as well. So the significator doesn't have to just be about you and your gender identification.
I can kind of understand why pop culture doesn't get into this.
Why?
Well, because there's quite a bit of explanation, whereas with tarot you can just misrepresent it to mean whatever you want. So can't you?
I think more shows should include Lenormand and get really into it, because it is really interesting, because it is that specific. I mean, if we were to do a 5-card tarot reading, we wouldn't be able to just bash one out quickly, because we'd be here analysing all the symbols in it. Yeah. But generally speaking, the cards that exist here in front of us, they're mostly quite positive cards. So it's how will next week go? I think you can take that to mean
quite a good week.
It's the thing that will happen about
it's a positive thing.
Yeah, it's not going to be something that is a problem for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It's something that I think, you kind of. I know we said no pre-reading, no pre-listening, but if people want to get into it, there's a lot of resources on our website, your website, and like the previous episodes of podcasts and things, because this has just been a very quick, relatively speaking, overview of a real life example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can see how you can play around with the cards. But yeah, just to go back to what you were saying before about deciding in advance. Yes, so we've talked about deciding if you're going to use a significator, deciding on the spread shape.
Yeah, and the number of cards.
And then your question.
Yeah.
And you're good to go.
And think about how you're asking the question as well.
Yeah, think about how, because it's specificity is more appropriate for Lenormand than, say, tarot, which can be a bit more open-ended type parable of an issue.
All right, cool, good stuff.
Happy?
Well, apparently I'm going to get a letter. So we'll find out.
Could be an email.
Well, I figured it could be an email. Yeah. Even a text message.
Yeah, written communication.
Yeah.
Sure. About something that you love to do with money or charitable finance, commercial opportunity.
Cool.
Yeah. Any more questions?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, in that case, that's it. That's our show.
So that's it. That's our show. If you liked it, give us a rating and a review, share with others, tell your friends. You'll find all our contact stuff over at magentaschoolofmagic.com, including our social media and links to the Magic School itself.